My name is Mike Barnaby. I'm currently a battalion chief assigned to C Shift, downtown Battalion 1, and I've been with the department for 25 years.
I'm Dustin Powell. I'm a battalion chief in operations, and I'm just 2 months shy of 20 years with the department.
Some of the challenges, there hasn't been a whole lot. A lot of them kind of manifested in the very beginning of the consolidation, and that was trying to align department personnel with stations and getting people to know apparatus and areas and developing those relationships between the two departments and the way the two different cities operate.
Calls are increasing every year. This last year our department ran, I think, just shy of 46,000 calls, and some of our top medic units, as far as those numbers go, as far as call volume, and even a couple of our engines are touching on the 6,000 calls a year mark. And that is just them being tapped out to a call, so that's the alarm going off. So if you do the math on a 24-hour shift, they're averaging 16 to 17 calls in a 24-hour shift, and that's just taking into account the call. That doesn't take into account the in-service time of driving to the call, the out-of-service time of driving back, all the other normal duties and jobs that we do along the day, becoming unavailable at the hospital, those kind of things. So you can see how in a 24-hour shift, if you have a call per hour, 16 calls eats up your full day, and you're not able to do a lot of the other things as far as training and things that are important, like eating and sleeping and being ready to respond. One of the biggest challenges I can speak to personally is the I.t challenges. And for people who are, moving stations, moving rigs, moving ambulances, there's different logins for whether you work for Eugene or Springfield, and it also depends on whether you're on a Eugene or Springfield computer. I have at least a dozen passwords that I have to do probably 6 things. But as a department, when we're out running calls, we're trying to log into systems for training or to complete reports and things like that. There's a lot of difficult situations where it's after hours and someone can't get into a computer on their MDT when they're responding to a call, or they get kicked out on their iPad and they can't complete a medical chart. It's who do we call at what time, and what city's IT department do we call?
We do have 2 different cities that have slightly different goals for their cities. The city of Eugene has specific things that they want to focus on as a community. City of Springfield slightly different on their end.
Even though we've streamlined things to respond at the best of our ability, I feel like we have to grow with the growing call volume and the growing population that we have, so that needs to be expanded.
There's been multiple advantages to functionally consolidating. We use common terminology now. We train together as a department, so we have that seamlessness between the 2 cities that we didn't have before. So since all our folks train together, drill together, use common command systems, use the same protocols and SOPs, it's really like one giant fire department that both cities and the outlying communities get benefits from.
Another thing is the common specs and setup of the apparatus. So the last thing we want is to be in an emergency situation and have a rig show up, whether it be an ambulance or a fire engine, and not know where the tools we are to grab at the moment are right then. Time is of the essence. There's no guesswork involved there.
Firefighter Safety has increased with the combined training, combined academies. There's efficiencies across the board as far as having one medical director, one EMS chief, some of those things that we report to, one operations chief, and makes it for the whole organization to be a little bit more streamlined. We also have increased surge capacity with emergencies in either city. So if there's a big emergency in Eugene, we can take resources from Springfield to kind of bolster up the west side of the operation, and vice versa in Springfield. In Springfield, prior to the consolidation, if they were to get a structure fire based on response packages, it would essentially tap out the whole city, and they'd have to call for mutual aid or rely on automatic aid agreements. But now we automatically shift resources to where the need is and where the gaps are in coverage.
I feel like our relationship with law enforcement has become a lot better in the same respect as the relationship with our neighboring departments, because they're not dealing with Eugene or Springfield anymore and have to navigate that. They're just dealing with Eugene Springfield Fire.
We have now one message essentially from one community or one metro department that we send out to our rural agencies, and so we're more reliable, I think, for those communities that we help serve, especially in the contract districts. And then we're also able to provide, again, that flexibility of one response package, one way for the rural departments kind of to expect what they're going to get from Eugene Springfield Fire, and it's a little bit more consistent across the board.